good afternoon, morning, or night, depending on the part of the world you're in. Today we have CJ Fairfield from the CRN here to talk to us about trends in the channel, right? So she has some great insights because she interviews so many people and talks to people about what actually is going on, that we get a nice broad feel for what's the pulse in the MSP channel right now, or just technology channel right now. And so before this meeting, we were even discussing, like, what do we talk about? There's so much going on. So CJ, tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's get kicked off. Like, what's the biggest change happening in 2025?
Biggest change happening. There's been a lot been going on, and we're only like a few weeks in. I'm CJ. I'm a reporter with CRN. Been there for 3.5 years, and I cover the channel. So MSPs, distributors, and vendors are like my bread and butter. And, our audience is you guys, MSPs and vendors and distributors. And so covering the biggest, buzz topic, and it has been for the last year and a half now, is AI, and especially AI and automation. I write a lot about it. I've moderated panels about it. And it's basically what's it doing, how it's evolving, what can be done with it, and how can MSPs harness the power of AI to, one, differentiate themselves to their customers, and also just to be more efficient. It's not eliminating all jobs, but it's differentiating jobs and how MSPs can harness it and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you know what I really want? I want a AI that'll listen to my conversations during meetings and immediately do fact checks, right? All right. So if somebody references CJ Fairfield, I want to be able to say right there, like, oh, this lady is from here. This is what she represents. So I can glance over, like, oh yeah, that's who that is. Or somebody mentions like something that recently happened, like immediately do a check on that, so I know, like, oh, that's what that is. Because sometimes you're off Googling to the side, like, what are they talking about? And that's something that AI helps me with, is that, like, I use Perplexity. And it's really useful because I can say, tell me about this. And then, can you tell me more? So I've been with Google since day one, like literally day one, people. And I remember the beta. And it was always nice to be able to find information. But when I have AI now, it's like, it's contextual. It's interesting. There are a lot of things going on. And like, which one do I use and how do I use them? And it just gets crazy. Like, which ones are going to help me with my privacy? Which ones are going to help me with my business? And so I would just love one that just kind of automatically runs there for meeting notes.
What's funny is I who doesn't Google themselves? And I Googled myself, and my CRN stuff comes up, LinkedIn, a random website called Muckrack that kind of tracks journalists and their stories and stuff like that. But a year ago, I Googled myself, and Google had like a panel up that said I was a public figure. And I was like, are you drunk, Google? Because I'm not a Kardashian. Like, I'm not a public figure. And I post about it. I was like, this is wild. And then, I don't know, something happened, and that panel's gone now. But then the other day, I literally put in ChatGPT. I was like, who is CJ Fairfield? And then it was like, based on our most recent, searches back from 2023, there's no one named CJ Fairfield. So ChatGPT doesn't know who I am, which is okay. I'm not a public figure. I don't want to be known. It's fine to be known on the channel, but I kind of like my privacy. But I understand what you're saying, fact checking. We might be there one day. Maybe someone who's listening can make that technology.
Oh man, it's got you listed here pretty well. CJ
On
Fairfield,
ChatGPT or Google?
Perplexity.
Oh,
CJ
I've never used
Fairfield is the
Perplexity.
senior associate editor at CRN, covering got a great headshot up there. Award-winning journalist with diverse background in print and digital media. Yeah, it's
I've never
nice.
used Perplexity, but is that like a ChatGPT? What is Perplexity?
It's like ChatGPT, yeah.
Okay. All right.
If you had Perplexity, you'd be able to ask it what Perplexity is. So, with AI, like, I think people so I run a software company, and, my immediate thought when I saw the AI trend coming up was like, oh, how can I integrate this? You want to get the SEO, you want to get people to go, oh, this is AI empowered. I said, why don't we hold off for a little bit and just let this cook for a bit. And sure enough, everybody and their dog went the AI route. And I want to see, like, how are we using it? And so, like, what I did recently, and it is like, my wife was down here, And I was showing her how Perplexity worked and why I was enjoying it. And then we looked up her resume. We looked up who is Andrea Walter. And they gave a great breakdown. Like, tell me this in a funny way. And it changed it around and we laughed our butts off. I'm like, this is an AI making me laugh. And so I tend to use it for research. I tend to use it for writing. It's really great for contracts, like, or documents where you want to be more formal, and it can structure it out for you and clean it up for you. There's some great things with AI, but I do think that people are trying to abuse it just for the sake of marketing. And
Possibly.
that bugs me sometimes. Like, oh, this is an AI tool. I'm like,
I don't use ChatGPT or AI so much for work, but we do use a transcription app called Otter, and it transcribes what during interview. And a new feature it has now is AI built into it. And I would say in the last, I don't want to put a date on, but I would say at least a year, it has like an AI summary of the transcription now.
Yes.
I never pull from that summary because I'd rather go through the whole transcript, but it's not too far off of what I interviewed this person about. So it's pretty cool. And I like how, and someone said it best probably a year or two ago, that AI is not going to be a huge change. You're not going to see a huge change. You're going to see a little AI feature now. So it's true. If you go on Facebook, it's like you can ask a Meta like anything. It's on Instagram now. I'm not on Snapchat, but and I just deleted my Twitter. But it's little stuff like that. Like you just Facebook has like the little like AI Meta. You can ask me anything now. So it's little changes like that. I use ChatGPT personally sometimes. Like if I want to find something, I'm going to London in 6 weeks. So I was like, find me something really cool in London that I want to go do. So I'm like, I haven't used it for work. I mean, ChatGPT's not gonna replace reporters because it doesn't know how to ask follow-up questions yet. But
well, we try to here at Humanize, we try to be more like, as you said, like I don't want to just like copy and paste an AI summary or a AI generate thing. I tend to use it for, like, for instance, we're using Riverside to record our podcasts. And after, like, say this podcast is done, I'm going to ask it to do magic clips. So it's going to do is it's going to read through our transcription, and I'll tell it to look for certain words. Like if CJ mentions, it says Adam is awesome, I want that clip, right? And it's going to clip that out, and then it'll give me like bookmarks where those are. So I can go in, and then I can edit them. I can move them forward or backwards a second or two, or like grab different areas where it was an interesting note that happened. And I can now create 5 to 10 clips of interesting content that used to take me 3 to 4 hours to do. Now I can create it in like a half an hour to an hour. And, people can see, like, I don't have time for a 25-minute podcast, but I do have time for a 1-minute clip. And here's a really great point that CJ made that I think everybody should know about. And I think that part of AI to cut out a lot of the noise in our lives is very useful. Like when I'm using Perplexity, I'm typing what I would type into Google. I need to know what this thing is, and it gives me a contextual answer. And I say, okay, can you dive into this a little bit more? And it's reading stuff from like 100 different websites, and it's aggregating them into one view. And I can tell it to dive down. I can do my research. I can expand upon things that that's what I'm looking for, and then I can go right to the source if I want to and start reading that web page. And so I like it for research. I like the fact that it saves me time on things that normally would be very, very mundane, repetitive tasks.
No, animation is great. I think back to my college days. I'll never forget like the first journalism class I had where I had to write stories. And when I tell you, I physically wrote all my notes out. And when I tell you, Adam, I remember like one of my first stories I wrote, I was in the middle of my bed and I had all the different pages of notes, papers spread out all over my bed. And I would take this one and be like, I would write this next. And like, I would cross it off and like one by one, I'd get rid of the papers and throw them out. And that would take like 3 hours to write one simple 400-word story. And with Otter and with Otter's AI insights, I mean, I'm not taking 3 hours to write 400-word stories. I can do it a lot quicker, but it's funny how far we've come. And and just like, I mean, yeah, I'm not writing physical notes anymore, or I do, but like not like all my notes. I mean, I use Word and everything online, but it's amazing how like AI automation has really cut down the time with Otter to transcribe everything and then just kind of give me an AI insight, which I don't typically use, but I do like just look at it, like, oh, what does this say from the interview that I did? So it is funny how, and we were using technology when I was in college, but I was just doing it like we were in the Stone Ages.
Well, I think it's more of like, yeah, like back in our day in college, like you had everything written down on these little papers, and then you had like, okay, where did I put the notes on that? Where is this at? Oh, I know that we talked about this in class at one point in time, or I know I talked to somebody about this. And so if you're like me and you're incredibly disorganized, it's a pain. But if you're using we use Fathom, we don't use Otter. And I say, I know I talked about this the last meeting. And I go back and I scroll through the notes and like, oh, there it is. And I can click on that area and it takes me to that portion of the meeting where we discussed this thing. And then I can check myself. I'm like, oh, there we go. I'm ready to go. And I can refresh myself. That way I'm not working out of context. Did I say this? Did I not say this? Or they wanted to be able to do, there was 3 things that they wanted to be able to do with our software. What was it? I want to make sure that gets taken care of in the onboarding. And it really helps me be a more effective person. So like as an MSP, like, are you taking good notes in your meetings? What did your client actually care about in that session? Did they actually mention, like, we really want to make sure this is going well? Like, well, what was that thing? You had 10 meetings that day. What was the thing that they cared about the most? And that's what I use AI for, simplifying and getting rid of all the noise in my life and focusing down on the things that matter and enhancing my relationships rather than replacing them.
That was the same thing with Otter. Is I can search a word. If we talked about cyber warranty, example, cyber insurance at like it's a 20-minute meeting and somewhere and I don't remember the timestamp, I can search the word cyber insurance and then it takes me right to where in the conversation we were talking about that. So that's the pretty cool part that I don't have to go through, because sometimes I do an interview that's an hour long and I'm like, who has the time? I mean, I used to transcribe hour-long interviews from a physical recorder. But it's just technology has gotten so much better. I think it's going to help us. I think you have to be smart about AI, obviously. But I think it's going to make us all more efficient. And I try to explain it to my mom, and she's 70. And I'm like, it pulls from everywhere. I'm like, you can ask it anything. You can ask ChatGPT anything. But she's 70. And so she just doesn't know. I don't think she knows what data is. So I just have to explain to her, like, dumb it down for her. And I'm like, this could be a useful tool for you, Mom, if you want to look up something or whatever. And yeah, it's crazy how it's funny how much technology has advanced over just my lifetime. I remember like in 2nd grade using like the Apple computers with like the blinking cursor on the black screen and like the floppy disks that were this big. And now like, do we have do we have disks? I don't even know. But it's pretty cool how far we've come just in my lifetime. I'm not even 40 yet.
Yeah, I mean, I am a Gen Xer, right? I was at the end of Gen X. And so we are an odd group in that we remember using records. LPs were how we listened to music. We also saw the entire transition into the digital download marketplace. And so we're an odd bunch in that it's almost like we remember the Stone Age and we're fluent in the modern age. And
you guys use typewriters.
Some people call us Zennials. It's not. From a standpoint of culture, we're gappers. We were in between two generations.
You're the sandwich
happens
generation.
that the bridge between Gen X and millennials is a massive leap. You know, it's like going from no electricity to electricity. A lot changed really fast. Yeah. Like my mom remembers not having indoor plumbing.
That might be a Nebraska thing, Adam. I feel like my mom had indoor plumbing in New Jersey.
You're a city kid. You're a city kid, though.
I am a city kid.
So out here in the rural world, it is there's a lot of things you don't get because it takes a while for this stuff to happen. You don't get pressured water flow from a pump without drilling your own well.
Wild.
I had my own well at my house growing up. We pumped groundwater ourselves. That's where my water came from. It did not come from the city. It did not come from sewage. It came from the well sitting 20 feet from my house. And that's where we also stored potatoes in the winter.
It's a whole other world.
The world I grew up in and the world today are two different places.
Right.
And we've learned to be adaptive to this. And so and here in 2025, we're talking about AI. We're talking about technology that is advanced enough that it can add context and add insights that you did not think about. And so it may not be what we call true AI yet, but it's getting really useful. Just as much as Google was really useful in the late 90s, early 2000s, especially for tech people. Mm-hmm. Rather than reading through these 300 manuals, I could go to Deja and I could scan a forum and look for results on this thing that I'm trying to fix. This is game changing. And so I think AI it's just going to become more and more useful as we hone down. Yes, you're going to have some Luddites and the haters that don't like it. Fine. You be you. I remember people didn't like CDs either. And anyways, the use of AI, it can enhance what you're doing. As an MSP, it can help you write better contracts. As an MSP, it can help you zone in on what a client actually cares about. And you can use it to research new technologies. Hey, maybe you're going to be a niche MSP, right? We've been talking about that a lot on the podcast recently. Let's talk about this. You want to be a niche MSP for architecture firms? Ask the AI, ask ChatGPT, Perplexity, or whoever your AI is. Tell me about the unique needs of architecture firms in Newark.
Yeah.
And let it do the work for you and then keep going. Ask it more questions, specific things. Is LiDAR a big desire in Newark? Probably. Is it something that your MSP should be working on? Maybe. But that's for you to decide now. Now you know about it. Is this a technology I want to support? Is there a big need on this? Market analysis from the AI standpoint is really cool, people. I can look up CJ and see where she's worked, what she's done, her awards, and know everything. And I've got it right on my screen right now. That would have taken me back in, let's say 2002. That'd be like a week of work, right? As I scanned newspaper articles, as I looked at microfilm. Anybody? And as I started doing research, I would eventually figure it out, but it would take me a week. Now I can do it in 3 seconds.
It is pretty cool. It's pretty cool and I've quoted Scott Chasen saying this, the CEO of Pac State. He's like, AI is evolving every 5 months. Every 5 months, AI, ChatGPT, it's just getting quicker, faster, smarter, and what we can do with it. So every 5 months, imagine what it's going to be in 3 years. When ChatGPT launched, what was it, 18 months ago now-ish? We were like, oh, wow, this new thing, it's so cool. But it was in its infancy. And I still think we're very much in the infancy of AI and how I can't even imagine where we'll be in 15 years. I remember, Scott Chasen had talked about the robots are coming. And I was like, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with robots if they can do the mundane stuff. Please clean my floors. And I know there's the Roomba and stuff like that, but I was like, okay, but can robot do my laundry? Can robot just do all my can it rake my leaves? Can it mow my lawn? It's great for business, but can also be great for consumers one day. So I mean, I don't want
my neighbor down the street has one of those lawn mowing robots.
I think I've seen them. Yeah, but
yeah, we'll be on a walk and it's just going around like a little Roomba, and I'm like,
I actually like mowing my lawn.
I like mowing my lawn.
It's the leaves, and now I'm in Jersey. I was talking about this earlier, but there's been a lot of snow lately, and please shovel my sidewalks.
Well, you just need to get a heated sidewalk, like people do in the Midwest.
Oh, I don't think it's a thing in Jersey. Heated sidewalks? That's wild.
They're a little bit more expensive, but you can buy pads for your sidewalks.
Okay.
And they're basically, you put them on your steps and you put them down your sidewalk and they just stay right above 37 degrees or so. And as
Oh,
snow goes on them, they just melt and it runs off into your lawn.
huh, all right.
And the more snowy areas, we have heated driveways. So when you
I just
pour your
heard about that.
driveway, there is a pipe system underneath it, and it's constantly flowing and keeping it just above 33 degrees. And so it's melting anything that goes on them. So they never ice over and they always run off, and you've always got a clean driveway.
I wonder if AI will hit that as well. Like somehow.
It's gonna be a laser above your garage. It's just gonna go.
Yeah, because like I just have like simple pavers as a driveway, and to get like pipes and stuff underneath, that's gonna one, dig up my driveway, and
You have to
two, be
re-pour
very
your driveway.
expensive.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe one day AI can like know when it's gonna snow and then just heat my driveway and my
Well,
sidewalk and my
I
step.
have I have a sprinkler system that detects weather for my lawns and waters according to the kind of soil I have and when it's going to rain.
See, there's so much potential that like is untapped. I don't like. I just rely on I do run my sprinkler sometimes, but there's so much potential, and I had moderated a panel on AI on one of our next gen events in October in Houston. It was me and a few MSPs, and one of the MSPs is Corey Kirkendall, and he's out of Texas, and he said, he's like, if you're not marketing AI and telling your clients what you can do with it, you're behind already, because someone else is already talking to them and saying, hey, this is what we can do. This is how we can make your business more efficient, how you can do things quicker, faster, and save time doing things. So,
Well, and I want to really lean into this for this topic. I know we were going to kind of go all over the place for 2025, what's coming up, but what I want to impress upon MSPs is that even if you don't care about AI, your customers do. Even if you don't care about TikTok, your customers do. And so you have to care about what they care about. And you have to be a authority that they can get answers from. So that's how you become a partner. Like, well, I don't do TikTok. You know what? I don't do TikTok either. I'm still keeping up on why is it considered a cyber threat? I'm still keeping up on, is this a good ban or not? What are the pros and the cons to doing this? Why is the Trump administration doing a reversal? Like in 2020, they hated TikTok. Today, they like it. I need to be ready with answers on this that are non-political so I can help my clients make better decisions. And that is your job as an MSP, is to be that technical advisor on all these new technologies coming out, specifically ones that affect your customers. And that does mean social media. That does mean that you need to know, is AI useful for developing legal documents? Is AI useful and going to help my client save money? How do I teach them how to do this? Should I do a lunch and learn on it? Should I be posting on social media saying, hey, anybody who needs to know about why TikTok's being banned and why it got unbanned, here's a quick video on explaining the history of that. Hey, here's the net neutrality law that got repealed in January that's going to affect you businesses long term. Let's talk about this stuff and be that advisor, whether or not you care about that technology or not. Your clients do. And in 2025, there's going to be a ton of this.
and I think that's a good example is I'm an older millennial. I don't use TikTok. But when it went down on Sunday for 24 hours, however it was, like people were losing their minds. Like Gen Z, like lives and dies on TikTok. And it does have for me, I'm like, it's another social media platform I don't need.
One more
Mean,
thing on the pile.
right. It doesn't mean I won't have TikTok one day. I have thought many times of downloading it, but Gen Z is all over TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram and whatever other, social media platform comes our way in a matter of time. And you have to harness that. You have to harness, like, this is how they're staying connected. Yep. And as Gen Z gets older, they're going to be your clients. They're already in the workplace. They're in their 20s. Some are still in high school, but the next 5, 10, 15 years, they're the ones that are going to be, a big chunk of the workforce. And so you have to harness social media and how like automation AI is being used in those social media platforms, because they're using it for marketing. Half of Gen Z, I feel like, they're just influencers. They're like real jobs. They're TikTok influencers. But that can be an untapped market for MSPs. I don't know how that would work, but there could be potential there.
Yeah. And to talk to MSPs here, I want you just to really embrace this. We see that AI is affecting the workplace. We don't know what it's going to look like maybe in a year. I see it as more of like it's going to lean into the personal assistant realm, and you're going to see a lot more of Microsoft's AI or Google's AI. Both of those are going to become more integrated into the workplace, and you need to be ready to advise your clients on what does that mean. And you can't just be a Luddite and say, well, I don't like change and the AI is going to destroy. No, you have to sit the line. You get to be an advisor. You get to say, here's the good, here's the bad. And let the business owners decide, is this technology good for their firm? You get to be that. You may love AI and think it's the greatest thing ever. Well, the client may not be able to use this quite yet. It may not be a good fit for their firm. You get to be an advisor again. And so to that end, I really think 2025 is where we're going to see MSPs start leaning more into being advisors.
Makes sense.
And those MSPs who understand that change is coming and people are going to be able to troubleshoot their own PCs really easily because they can just go over to their recent AI tool and say, hey, how do I fix this thing? And it's going to be able to tell them how to do some pretty advanced stuff step by step.
And I really don't think it'll take some jobs, all jobs, because you still need human. Perfect example. Like I have Comcast Xfinity, and whenever like my TV's acting up, I call the number, which is not in my phone because it happens more often than not. And I am connected to a chatbot, but it has all my information, my number, my address. And then it's like, okay, and it texts you, and I'm texting a chatbot, and it troubleshoots my computer, my TV from my phone, and that works, which I like. But if I'm having like a billing issue or something, I want to talk to a person. Like there are times where the chatbot, like I just want to talk to an actual person. Like this is my problem. I can't, because sometimes you're talking to a chatbot, it's like, say what you need in a few words. No, sometimes I need to say it in a lot of words. And so there are times where AI and automation is going to replace humans, but we're obviously not going to replace humans all the way. And obviously I'm coming from a consumer standpoint, but I mean, MSP's clients are consumers. They're the end client. They're the people that are going to, they can put chatbots on their website or whatever, but you're still going to need that human interaction. You can use AI and automation to help with your job, but there still has to be a balance between the two.
And to sum this up a bit, I'm gonna be a little bit of a nerd here. So I got my computer science degree 98 to 2002, right during the .com, right? And back then we were discussing what can AI do and what can AI not do. And so this was a big discussion in our algorithms class. And what we call these is NP-complete problems. Problems that a computer cannot solve well, like traveling salesman. Like, you're trying to go to all these cities. What's the most efficient path? What's the right size of internet for this customer? There's problems that require a set of knowledge and context that algorithms will always have a hard time figuring out. Eventually they'll get there, but it's always going to be very difficult. So they're called NP-complete. So this is not a new problem in 2025. This is a very old problem that we've known about in computer science for decades. So don't think this is new problems coming up with MSPs. This is not new issues. This is something we've always had, but NP-complete problems will always exist. You will always need some kind of consultant to come in and solve these kinds of issues. It's just that that bar is going to get raised. We don't need TV repairmen anymore. They used to be a big field. However, we do need satellite troubleshooters. We do need people who can troubleshoot the internet and what's going on. But as our technology evolves, so does the bar for where do we suddenly need a person. And so you just got to be really aware of that in MSP world. If you're reliant on being a TV repair person right now, you're going to have a rough time. And I see that is where we currently are with MSPs. If you're relying on PC repair and ticketing, you're going to have a rough time over the next 2 years as it becomes less and less important, as it becomes easier and easier to troubleshoot on your own. So lean into the consultant this year. Lean into how can I help my clients grow? How can I help them understand all these new technologies that are being thrown at them and which ones are going to make them successful as a business.
That's a great analogy of the TV repairman, because I don't think I've ever had a TV repairman growing up, but it's true. Like, if the amount of time that like you had like back in the 90s or wherever, like if you had a call TV repairman schedule, now it's just like I call Comcast as it's an automated bot. They start texting me, and I troubleshoot from my phone, and it always fixes the problem and within 5 minutes. And so, yeah, you have to, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. As if an MSP is being a TV repairman, you're operating like it's 30 years ago.
Well, I thank you for coming on here, CJ. This has been a great topic. I should need to have you on again to talk about just what other trends are happening in the industry. If you need to check out CJ, where can we find you?
I'm always on LinkedIn. I post everything on LinkedIn, but all my stories are at crn.com. There's a free newsletter, or just follow me on LinkedIn, and you'll see all my posts for my stories there.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you need to know more about what technology trends are out there, or just to get some nice digest on what's going on, check out our LinkedIn feed. Follow her. Check out CRN. Check out those articles there. Maybe you'll even see me there someday. I don't know. And we'll hopefully stay on top of this. This is going to be rapid change. I, as a Gen Xer, am predicting that we are at the cusp of another major shift in technology. I can't tell you exactly what it's going to look like, but it feels the same as the .com. It feels the same. We're seeing a lot of change and a lot of unknown, and like, how is this going to affect? And in 5 years, we're going to look back on 2025 and go, holy crap, we were in the Stone Ages back then. All right. Thank you, CJ, for coming on, and we'll check you later.
Thanks, Adam.